on the line by Bernadette Orbinski Burke. She's Chief Executive of Childminding Ireland. Bernadette, you're welcome to the programme.
Thanks very much, Ciara.
You at Childminding Ireland have held consultation workshops in 19 places across the country, and arising from that, it's showing that childminding differs in numerous ways from other types of childcare. How has that finding emerged?
Well, yes, you're right. We were in 19 different locations around the country, from Donegal to Kerry and Tala and Castlebar, and as many places in between as possible. So we collected a huge volume of data from childminders. And what we noticed really were themes that emerged. It was interesting because there was a lot of commonality across the country. So we're running our first campaign on the first theme that we noticed, which is that childminding is very much child-led care. So to give you some examples of the quotes from the childminders, we can go for a walk and see where the road brings us. Let's go out in the rain, we won't melt. You know, I know it's hard to wake up. Let's sit on the couch and read a story. So there's that sort of flexibility that's really unique to childminding. And there's a number of different themes to follow on about the amount of family support the childminders provide, how children learn life skills with childminders helping around the home, cooking, sorting socks, you know, all those everyday things that we do at home. They're out and about in the community. They go to the post office with the childminder, and we often find that families who are commuting to work, at weekends, they find their children actually know more people in their locality than they do because they're out so much, which is really nice. Fostering a love of nature was another really strong theme that came out. Feeding chickens, watching the birds, minding the family pets. Building resilience, I should say, maybe resistance as well, but resilience.
I imagine, Bernadette, though, I think it wouldn't have occurred necessarily to everybody that childminding would be the oldest form of childcare outside of the family unit, because since
Absolutely.
Work began and women began going to work, perhaps the neighbour, you know, 2 doors down or what have you, would look after her children. So in that sense,
right.
It's the oldest form. But I think in today's context, it may be seen as less formal, but also have fewer regulations applicable to it, and that could be good, bad or indifferent depending on your standpoint.
Absolutely. And basically at the moment there's an estimate of 88,000 children are being minded by 35,000 childminders, so it's a huge workforce. But you're right, Minister Zapone established a working group in September 2016 to look at the reforms and supports that the childminding sector needed. And the working group, which was chaired by Childminding Ireland, reported in March 18 with 20 proposals. So the next step is the department is working on a childminding action plan based, you know, having reviewed the proposals. So this campaign is very much part of our ongoing desire to ensure that any registration and regulation that's brought in is appropriate for childminding. It's not a cut and paste from other forms of childcare, but you know, there is a need for a register, there is a need for regulation, but it's getting it right and protecting and nurturing childminding, not damaging it. So that's really the trick we're trying to achieve. And
I imagine, Bernadette, you may be of the view that this isn't pitting childminding against other forms of childcare or saying it's an either or. It could be the case that at different stages of your family life, one is more appropriate and convenient than the other.
Absolutely, and you know, it's very much the point, Ciara. You know, every child is different. You know, every family is different. Different forms of childcare suit different children and different families. So we're not rivaling creches or anything like that. It's just that we want equity. This is a huge section of the childcare area. It's been neglected for years. There's been no new investment for years and years. And we need it to be really nurtured and recognised. I mean, it's so vital to families who work shift work or childminders are typically less expensive than creches. There's a whole numerous families depending on this childcare, and it's really good. It's really good. There are huge benefits of childminding. Children can flourish, their individuality can flourish. You have the smaller group sizes, and often children with additional needs, it suits them, depending obviously on the child. So we can't afford to get this wrong. And I think it's really about really understanding the benefits of childminding and what it does.
Well, Bernadette Orbinski Burke, Chief Executive of Childminding Ireland, thank you for joining.